Well, we're glad to have Representative Hudson here today to make a few remarks. So, Representative Hudson, if you'll come forward.
Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me. You've been sitting on your fannies for about an hour now, so why don't we take 30 seconds and look to your right and look to your left and introduce yourself to somebody you may not know, and stretch if you want to. So my job is to kind of make a few remarks as it relates to the legislature, but I wanted to just kind of summarize a little bit of what I've heard this morning, and I think it's important. We've heard kind of an interesting a number of folks this morning, and we heard Edwin Massey talk about the importance of the state college systems and how individual communities, especially rural communities, can be dramatically impacted by a quality state college, and ours are the best. You heard Senator Grimsley talk about the Heartland as a fifth-generational Floridian and someone with deep, deep passion for where she lives and wanting to see nothing more than a great desire to see it prosper and for other people to enjoy it like she has in her life. We heard Governor Scott talk about hard work, the belief in who we are as Floridians and as a state, and creating our own future. You heard Gray talk about rural nimbleness and our proximity to markets and what an advantage that has, and how we oftentimes don't think about that. He also mentioned something that we don't ever want to think about, and that's change. And how are we actually reacting to the new paradigm of economic development? We need to rewrite the rule book. What was right yesterday may not be right tomorrow. And you can probably equate that to a number of different scenarios in your life. But we need to step out of our comfort zone. And so boot camp is appropriate. You go to boot camp, you work hard, you do the things that you didn't want to do, but you do it with a positive attitude because you can do it if you want to do it. And so today, you have that opportunity to learn some new skill sets, learn some tools that might be foreign to you, pay attention to some concepts that maybe you didn't want to give any credence to before. Because if you really loved what was going on, probably wouldn't be here. You're here because you want to learn. You're here because you want another tool in your toolbox. You're here because you want to see your community and your state prosper. So take it serious. It's important. Now I want to touch on another thing that I think is oftentimes overlooked. Now I'm here today with two of my colleagues, Senator Grimsley and Representative Powell, and each one of you is represented by somebody in the House and the Senate. Now, I'm fortunate enough to represent the eastern part of Collier County and the entire county of Hendry County. And the troops in Hendry County probably think that I live in Hendry County because I'm there so much. Do you know your legislator? And I'm not talking about know them because you went to the delegation meeting. I'm not talking about know them because you saw them speak once. I'm not talking about your annual trip to Tallahassee where you got 15 minutes and maybe supper or something later. Do you actually know them? Are you communicating to them the things that are important to you and your job regularly? Now, if you're from a rural county, chances are your legislator represents multiple counties. If you're in the House, we represent 157,000 people. Think about your county. How many people you got? Chances are they're going to represent more than one county. And so the practical side is that they're hearing from a lot of different people. If you're in North Florida, you could have 7 or 8 counties that you represent. So you might have seen them once. You might have seen them twice. But you know what? They're seeing that from 8 or 9 other counties. You need to have a good, strong relationship with your legislator, both in the House and the Senate. We're there to be a partner with you. We represent our community. We are your voice in your republic. That's the only thing we do, is be your voice. But you got to talk to us. We got to know what's going on. I can't very well go and advocate for you if you don't tell me what you're up to. I mean, it's just simple that way. Representative Powell can't speak to his committee and speak to his other legislators without knowing what's going on in his community. It's important. And we oftentimes overlook that. You know, and there's all that campaign crud, yeah. But you know what? It's more important that you pop by and go, hey, want to go grab coffee? Those are the kinds of things that help. When you're having an EDC meeting, invite your legislator. Make sure he sends a staff member, or she, and make sure that they're in tune to what's going on. It'll make it a whole lot easier. Because when you come to Tallahassee, we're busy. That 60-day window is a little crazy, or a lot crazy. We may not have a huge block of time for you, but if we know your issue in the back and you pop up and you go, hey, good to see you, all of a sudden it clicks and we can help advocate for your issue. Maybe it's a piece of legislation, maybe it's an amendment you need, maybe it's appropriation related work, maybe it's work with an agency. Whatever it might be, develop that relationship. It's extraordinarily important. Now, I know that that's probably preaching to the choir, and you would say, well, I know that. But we're here at boot camp. We're here to think about the things that we think are commonplace, but we don't always necessarily do. It's kind of like the cap on the toothpaste tube. You know what I mean? You're supposed to put it on there, but doesn't always work that way. You know you're supposed to do it, but it just doesn't happen. So think about that. Think about the process by which you do those things. And engage with your staffs, engage with your legislative team in your particular counties, and create part of that sustainable team that Gray was talking about. When you're gone, who will pick up that torch? Who will be the champion for your county when you're not there? You have a deep-rooted passion to do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But Florida's been around for an awful long time, 500 years. We're going to be around for a lot longer. Who picks up the torch after you? Who's part of that team? Who builds that sustainable team? How do you make it work? How do you evolve? How do you adapt? How do you change in an economy and in a world that changes faster than almost anything? Think about the telephone you had 10 years ago. Yeah, it was at home. It wasn't mobile, was it? Weird. Think about your laptop that you had 10 years ago. A little clunky. Think about the desktop that you were all excited about because it had 15 gigabytes of memory. And then think about the way you do things today. Are you doing it the same way you did 10 years ago? Because that's the way we've always done it? Are you doing it the way you did it 5 years ago? Because that's always the way you've done it? Or are you looking at it and saying, you know what? I got great people. I got a great team. How are we going to do it better and succeed and beat every other state in the union doing it? Because if you do that, you're going to win. And given a choice, I'd much rather win. So, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for your engagement. Pay attention. Work hard. Challenge yourself. Challenge your teams when you get back. And good things will most certainly happen. Now, I do have one very important thing to tell you on top of that. I get to be the purveyor of good news. Are you ready? You now have a 15-minute break. I would encourage you to get coffee and juice and so forth and be back here no later than 5 minutes till 10. Thank you very much.